If you've tried capturing time-lapse on your iPhone using the native camera app, you've probably been disappointed with the results. Flickering exposure, white balance shifts, jarring motion, zero manual controls, and ultimately, hours wasted capturing footage you can't even use. But the app Reelapse fixes all of that and takes the guesswork out of creating stunning time-lapse on iPhone, and with the release of version 2.1, which adds full support for RAW time-lapse capture, you can now rival traditional cameras for incredible quality. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to create stunning time-lapses on your iPhone. From the best settings and slow shutter effects through to raw Holy Grail time-lapse, you'll learn everything you need to get up and running with this app. Thanks to Reflex for sponsoring this tutorial. The app is linked in the pinned comment. Now, let's dive in and learn to capture our first time-lapse with Reelapse. Before starting a time-lapse in any mode, open Settings and select your frame rate. I'm choosing 24 FPS. It's the standard for motion picture capture, and a lower frame rate always means less waiting for your time-lapse to finish. Tap back. Next, tap video codec. If your phone supports ProRes, you can choose it here for higher quality 422 all intra compression. ProRes 422 is ideal. For smaller file sizes, or if your phone doesn't support ProRes, choose HEVC, tap back, then tap bitrate and choose 100 megabits per second for highest quality. The last option is backup. Save backup video saves a duplicate 2 files in addition to photos, ideal if you're prone to accidentally deleting videos from the Photos app. Save individual frames saves individual JPEGs alongside your video. I'd leave both off if you're not sure you need them. Tap the camera icon to return to the main interface. With settings configured, let's set up the time-lapse itself using the Timelapse Dashboard. It takes the guesswork out of time-lapse by letting you enter total frame count, interval, and slow shutter effects, and automatically calculating your capture session length and final video output time. By default, we're capturing 24 frames at a half-second interval with slow shutter effects off. A 12-second wait for a 1-second finish time-lapse. Not enough, so let's configure it properly. Tap Frames. Increase the frame count and you'll see capture time and output both grow with it. Reduce it and both shrink. Next, tap Interval. As you increase the interval, which is the time between each frame captured, only capture time grows, output stays fixed. The real impact of interval is on the compression of time in your finished time-lapse, and it's easier to show than explain. On the left is a 1-second interval, in the middle a 5-second interval, and on the right a 15-second interval. The longer the interval, the more dramatic the compression of motion in the scene, but the longer the capture time needed to get the same number of frames. The last item in the dashboard is Effects, computational slow shutter simulations for motion blur and light trails, replicating what you'd normally get from a physical ND filter combined with slow shutter speeds. Increase the motion blur effect and you'll see capture time increase further without affecting the final output. The beauty of Reelapse is that this dashboard removes all the guesswork, calculating capture and output in real time as you adjust frames, interval, and effects. You'll know exactly how long you'll be freezing your ass off to get your final time-lapse duration. If you're wondering what the best interval is, there isn't one. Only the best interval for your scene, and you'll only learn that with practice. As a general guide, for slow-moving scenes like cloudscapes, a longer interval creates more dynamic motion. For a time-lapse shot from a moving vehicle, where the environment is changing rapidly, a much shorter interval, around half a second, paired with a half-second of motion blur, works well. For this scene, I'll choose a 10-second interval, capture 192 frames, and apply 1 second of motion blur for a final 8-second recording. But before we hit the shutter, there are 2 more things to set. The first is our capture mode, and Reelapse offers 3 capture modes. Max captures using your sensor's full width and height, delivering 4K video in your codec of choice at 4032 by 3024, more commonly known as Open Gate. This gives you more information to reframe for 16:9 in post, or you can publish natively in 4:3. Tap the mode picker to enter 4K mode. This crops and renders your time-lapse in 16:9 at 3840 by 2160, the standard aspect ratio for web and TV. A great choice if you don't want to reframe in post and plan to publish in 16:9. The only difference between them is the output resolution. Tap the mode picker again to enter RAW mode, brand new in Reelapse version 2.1. RAW unlocks unrivaled image quality and editing flexibility by bypassing the image signal processing used in the standard photo stream in Max and 4K modes, instead saving a DNG RAW image sequence that you can turn into a time-lapse movie in post. Because these are RAW images, you can't use motion blur effects and file sizes are significantly larger. In return, you get the most natural looking image, giving you the ability to dial in the perfect look in post using an app like Lightroom or Resolve, recover clipped highlights, and even achieve Holy Grail day to night time-lapse using the industry standard LRTimelapse application for Mac and Windows. While I'd recommend RAW for the best results, for now I'll choose Mac so the video is created in Reelapse. Later in this tutorial, I'll show you how to harness the power of RAW in Reelapse. But for now, with modes set, the only thing left before starting is to set and lock focus, exposure, and white balance. By default, focus, exposure, and white balance are in full auto. You could just tap the shutter and start your time-lapse, but that will result in distracting flicker that hurts the final quality. For best results, set each of these manually. To lock the current white balance value, just tap it. Once a value turns green, it's locked and won't change. Use the slider to manually override the locked automatic value and double tap in the preview to reset any locked value back to auto. I'll tap white balance again to lock the current value so it doesn't shift during recording. Next, tap in the live preview to set your focus point, then tap MF to lock it. Tap to focus won't always work perfectly, especially in low light or on low contrast areas, so use the manual focus slider to dial it in. Tap the eye icon to engage focus peaking, which makes this easier, then disable peaking once focus is set. Lastly, tap to lock exposure. Tap either ISO or shutter speed and the other locks with it. You can also make manual adjustments using the sliders. For best results, enable the histogram and zebras to spot any clipping and adjust using the manual ISO and shutter speed sliders as needed. Once exposure is set and locked, disable them both so you can view capture and output time again. Then press the shutter button, sit back, and enjoy a good book until your time-lapse capture is complete. As mentioned previously, Reelapse makes available two slow shutter modes in Max and 4K modes, motion blur and light trails, and they are so cool it's worth exploring them in detail. Now you might be wondering what is the difference between these two modes, and the answer is the frame stacking algorithms used to simulate long exposure. The motion blur mode computes an optimized temporal average across frames and is ideal for dynamic scenes like cars zooming by, clouds drifting across the sky, and even for removing objects from the scene, whereas the light trails pipeline selectively preserves and accumulates only the brightest pixels over time and is best suited for light trails. Neither algorithm comes from a public Apple API. Both were developed in-house by the Reflex engineers and run entirely on the device's GPU to maximize frame rate and keep energy usage low. And the best feature of both slow shutter modes is that you get to preview the effect in real time during capture. Simply select the effect duration and tap the shutter, and you can instantly see how it will look. If it doesn't look right, just stop the time-lapse and adjust the duration, then try again. The most powerful feature in Reelapse is the brand new RAW mode introduced in version 2.1. Instead of rendering HEVC or ProRes video in-app, Reelapse saves a folder full of RAW DNG photos, and that does a few very important things. First, it bypasses Apple's image signal processing, giving you an untouched image with maximum flexibility to edit in post. Second, working with RAW images lets you restore clipped highlights, even when clipping 2 of 3 RGB channels for unbelievable dynamic range. Third, because you're capturing individual RAW images, you can pull any frame out of a sequence and edit it as a high-quality standalone photo, something that isn't possible when working with a compressed HEVC or ProRes video output. And lastly, RAW Timelapse makes Holy Grail Timelapse possible, seamlessly transitioning between day and night using the industry standard application LRTimelapse. RAW capture in Reelapse is almost identical to time-lapse capture using the Max or 4K modes, with the only difference being effects are unavailable. Just tap the mode picker to enter RAW mode, then set your interval and number of frames. Then set and lock white balance, focus, and exposure, and tap the shutter button and you're away. When finished, Reelapse will save a video render to photos so you can quickly preview the results. The full quality RAW image sequence is saved under iOS Files. On my iPhone, Reelapse. To turn this into a finished time-lapse, just import this folder onto your Mac or PC. You can edit the images in an app like Lightroom, export them, and use QuickTime to open an image sequence and convert it to a movie. My preferred workflow is to use DaVinci Resolve, which is free. From the media page, import your image sequence folder. Resolve automatically treats it as a video. Then under the color page, you can utilize Resolve's camera raw tools to restore clipped highlights and make adjustments to exposure and white balance. Use a color space transform to convert it into a color space and gamma of your choosing, and then grade it as you would any other video clip using either LUTs or film emulation plugins like Filmbox Pro, and then export your finished video ready to share. To capture a Holy Grail time-lapse in Reelapse, enter RAW mode and set your interval long enough that you have time to adjust exposure between captures. I'm choosing a 15-second interval, then I'll increase my frame count to cover a 3-hour capture time, 1 hour before sunset, 1 hour of sunset, and 1 hour after sunset into night. The next step is the most important. Enable the histogram and monitor it throughout the capture. Then set and lock your white balance, focus, and exposure. For exposure, I'll set ISO nice and low, then refine with shutter speed over the course of my time-lapse. Now hit the shutter button. As time passes, you'll need to readjust exposure to account for the drop in light, which is exactly why a long interval is essential. It gives you enough time to complete the adjustment before the next photo is captured. We will smooth out the exposure spikes later in the edit. And if you make it through the full capture without your phone getting stolen or dying from frostbite, the real magic happens in post using LRTimelapse in combination with Adobe Lightroom. LRTimelapse is the industry standard application for Holy Grail on Mac and Windows. Simply add your Reelapse raw image sequence and LRTimelapse will generate a luminance graph. Every spike here is where I manually adjusted exposure. Obviously, this creates jarring exposure jumps that will ruin our time-lapse if left untreated. To fix this, work through the symbol flow that runs from left to right at the top of the interface, starting with the keyframe wizard. This will automatically generate recommended keyframes for image adjustment. Then click Holy Grail wizard, which will equalize the jumps in brightness introduced by ramping our exposure during capture. Save this to the XMP metadata, and now for the fun part. Drag and drop your sequence into Lightroom Classic, and with Add selected, click to import your sequence. LRTimelapse installs a filter in Lightroom to show keyframe images only. Open the first image in the Develop module, then edit it until you're happy. Then, shift select the next keyframe image, and from the Scripts menu select Sync Keyframes. This will copy your previous edits across. Make further adjustments as needed. For example, you may wish to adjust the white balance and refine exposure. Then repeat the Sync Keyframes process to your next image, make any necessary adjustments until all keyframes are edited and to your liking. Press G to return to the grid view, select all images, click on the metadata menu and choose Save Metadata to Files and return to LRTimelapse. Then click Auto Transition and LRTimelapse will interpolate changes across all images based on the keyframes you just edited to smoothly transition from start to end. As you can see, despite the exposure curve being much smoother, we still get jumps which will result in flicker. To fix this, the last step is to click on Visual Deflicker and smooth your exposure curve. You can enable additional passes for even smoother results, then click Apply. As you can see, LRTimelapse runs through the sequence and smooths out all jumps. Then it's as simple as exporting your finished movie from LRTimelapse in HEVC or ProRes, and we've taken our iPhone time-lapse from humdrum to Holy Grail in just a few simple steps. for results previously only possible on dedicated mirrorless and DSLR cameras. So, whether you're capturing timelapse in Max and 4K modes with motion blur effects, or in RAW mode for the highest image quality possible, you now know how to master the fundamentals of timelapse using Reelapse. I hope this video helped you capture better timelapse. If it did, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. My name's Elliot, thanks for watching, I'll see you in the next one, bye.